Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. That's my guy.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast, coming to you live on a Thursday evening. My name is Steven, and I am the host, as always, here to break down the Chargers-Steelers game. But first, I feel like we have to send some thoughts and prayers and condolences to the Marshawn Kneeland and his family. Obviously, just a really heartbreaking thing today. A player who had a monumental, huge performance, huge moment on Sunday afternoon on Monday night, against the Cardinals, blocking a punt, scoring a touchdown, and then obviously takes his own life. Mental health struggles are very real. If you need help, please do not hesitate to reach out. Obviously, there's the national hotline 988 that you can dial at any time. I'm sure everybody listening to this has been affected by suicide in some capacity. And it's just a horrible, horrible news day for the NFL. And again, just wishing his family nothing, but health and positivity going forward, because I just cannot imagine the swing of making this huge play on Monday Night Football to what they're going through now. So again, if you need help, please, seek it out. It's okay to not be okay. And if you need me to be that person or Tyler to be that person, we are happy to do that. So didn't feel right to not send out some condolences to the Neen family, Cowboys fans, etc. Just going through a really, really tough time right now.
Yeah, gut punch to just hear any news of a player, passing away for a variety of reasons. It's been, I feel like, rough couple of years. I feel like recently, maybe it's because I know more of the players because of the draft and whatnot, but it's been a really tough couple of years. But this in particular, this situation is just, it's so tragic, and everyone is fighting a battle that you are unaware of. Steven and I and everybody, big or small, we're all fighting through something that most people are generally unaware of. So if you are at that kind of point, yeah, of course, hotline, reach out, Steven, loved ones, anybody, if you need anything, let us know, let me know, let somebody know. I can't imagine. So yeah, I'm glad we started with this. It was a real gut punch this morning.
And check on your loved ones. If you have not talked to a loved one or a friend or whoever in a while, and you feel like you need to do that, definitely go and do that, because sometimes those things can really, truly make the biggest difference in saving a life. So, not a fun way to start the show, but again, didn't feel right to not talk about that today. That being said, this is a Chargers podcast, and we do have to move on. We do have a football game to cover today. And so we are going to jump right into Chargers-Steelers game, one of the biggest games of the weekend. Obviously, it's on Sunday Night Football, but in terms of the good teams, in terms of the implications, just one of the most important games of the weekend. I am going to be there. Tyler is going to be there. So it's just we'll see what happens kind of game. I still, we're going to predict this game at some point later today. I still have no idea where I'm going to lean. Obviously the Steelers beating the Colts last week, the Chargers losing Joe Alt, just some big swings in either direction there, but should be a fun one to dive into here tonight.
Yeah, as long as Steven and I have been doing previews, we've maybe changed our answer by the end of our own preview, but we've always had something
an answer.
This is the first time I think ever that Steven and I do not have an answer right now as to where we're leaning in this game. Maybe we'll sway each other. The chat might sway us, or if the Raiders get up big on the Broncos and we're just feeling like upset city is in the air, perhaps we'll see. I believe the Chargers are actually favored, so the Steelers winning would be the upset. But yeah, I don't know about this one. I really don't. I didn't know about this one before the season started. I definitely don't know about it now.
Yeah, NFL is, that says I'm oddly confident and equally pessimistic.
100%. I know exactly how the Chargers will both win and lose this game. So we'll see.
Yeah, this time last week, I was feeling pretty confident. I'm not going to lie. The Steelers have not looked like themselves. And then last week, they looked like themselves in the biggest way possible against arguably the best team in the AFC. And then obviously the Joe Alt injury. So, we'll dive right in here. We'll do the prize picks read later for you guys a little bit here, but let's jump in here. Obviously, only fair for Tyler to do a theme around Aaron Rodgers and his situation here. So, Tyler, walk us through the process this week. How did you come across this particular theme?
Drugs. I didn't do drugs, but I genuinely was like, what do I do? I'm like, steal maybe, like something about like industry. No, wait, timeout. Aaron Rodgers, copious amounts of LSD and drugs and whatever I can find. So some topics were too specific, but this theme, I think, generally paints a groovy picture, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. A fun one nonetheless. We wanted to start this conversation talking about, again, the playoff implications for both the Chargers and the Steelers. Again, one of the biggest swing games this weekend. The Chargers are obviously trying to stay, in pace with the AFC West. The Steelers are trying to keep the Baltimore Ravens at bay. So the Chargers, according to the Athletics' new comprehensive playoff simulator model, have a current playoff percentage at 74%. If they win on Sunday night, it would be 82%, so an 8% swing in the positive. If they lose, however, that drops down to 61%, so a 13% swing in the opposite direction. The Steelers, this is a massive, massive game for them in particular. It's very important for the Chargers, but there's some other games later down the stretch. For the Steelers, their playoff percentage is at 59%. With a win on Sunday night would jump to 74%. With a loss, that is down to 48%, which is essentially like a 50%, 50-50 swing here. So this is a super important game for the Steelers. It's a very important game for the Chargers. Where are you leaning in terms of like playoff, chances for the Chargers right now? We're heading into week 10. So home stretch here. What's the vibe around playoff chances for the Chargers right now?
I think this is a great time to bring it up because this game does give me a bit of a status of the Chargers, state of the Chargers, and what the rest of the games throughout the season are going to be like. The Steelers are not the best team in the league. They're not the worst team in the league. They're kind of in a similar, maybe slightly lower tier, particularly because they have Chargers have Justin Herbert, but kind of that same-ish tier as the Chargers. They're fighting for a certain spot, and so I kind of view them as a team that will be dangerous. Maybe they win the division, maybe they don't, but like they're going to be a solid team. If you lose to the Steelers, like throw the percentages out the window and just like look at the schedule for me. If the Chargers beat the Steelers, I feel that they then can beat the Jaguars and the Cowboys and the Texans and maybe Denver again. Not that the Steelers are necessarily better, but knowing they can clear that bar, especially getting to the bye and pray to God everybody stays healthy, you feel like they can beat those teams. They lose to the Steelers, it wouldn't surprise me. But then going at Jacksonville the following week, I don't feel as good about that. Going at Dallas, in December, I don't feel as good about that. So, one, I mean, of course, a win is good. It's good for them in the AFC. It's good for them if they try to stay on top or ahead of everybody in the AFC. Try to hold on to a division win if they can by the end of the year. Probably playing the Broncos for that in Week 18. So hopefully they can pull this one out. I feel that they are still a playoff team. So I'm not really concerned about their ability to make the playoffs, or at least I'll just say get to 10 wins. How much of that playoffs does that buy them? I don't know. I do feel like they still can get there. But if you beat the Steelers, I feel better about their ceiling for sure.
I think we are going to learn a lot about this version of the Los Angeles Chargers. And like, it's so unfortunate that injuries have derailed a lot of their offense and a lot of certain parts of their defense. Because we saw in the first 3 weeks the ceiling of this version of the Chargers with Joe Alt healthy, with the new weapons and everything like that. And that was even without obviously Ron Gadsden was not really involved in that game. So you see the ceiling of the Chargers, and now we're here 7 weeks later, and we kind of have to figure out who this version of the Chargers are. With this new look offensive line, obviously, the 3 interior guys, hopefully Mekhi Becton plays this week. The 3 interior guys are probably going to remain the same, but new offensive tackles, what does that mean? Obviously the running backs are all injured. So what does this version of the Chargers look like? I think we're going to figure out a lot this week. If the Steelers come into SoFi and the defensive line just dominates and it's kind of a blowout, then it's going to be tough for me to be optimistic about their chances. Maybe in this version of the AFC, they can still scrape together enough wins and make the playoffs. But If they lose competitively, like if the Steelers win on a last-second field goal, then I think that kind of could provide some optimism, again, depending on like how the game goes. But if they win this game with these offensive tackle situations and with the running backs and things like that, and the Steelers coming off of a huge game, for the simulator, it means a lot. But I think just for me and for the rest of the fan base, it's kind of like on the fence of like, okay, what is this team actually? A win on Sunday night would be a huge boost to the confidence, just kind of going forward. Like you mentioned, Jacksonville, Raiders, Cowboys are on there. Texans, you will see that defense is insanely good. But a win on Sunday night, just for me personally, would give me so much more confidence going forward the rest of the way.
Yeah, and if nothing else, it's another primetime high leverage situation for the Chargers. And honestly, like it was, I thought it was going to be against the Vikings or against the Chiefs in Brazil. Just winning these games and what feels like high leverage situations makes me feel good about not just the games on their schedule, but having to go either host or play some sort of playoff game and go win in those situations, finding themselves again, digging down deep again. I would even argue rebounding from the Titans game. They won. I think there's a lot of, like I think you said several times in our recap, meat left on the bone. And I think them rebounding from that would be good here, obviously.
And I think the Chargers are saying the right things. There was a story from Omar Navarro about Khalil Mack and his leadership, heading into this week, about how they felt so great about the Vikings game, and rightfully so, because it was, you have this horrible game against the Colts. You come back and you have this awesome game against the Vikings. There was a lot of positivity. And then, a win is a win, right? And the team is never going to apologize. But, Khalil Mack came out and said in this article, like, hey, we hold ourselves to a higher standard than scraping by in those kind of situations. So the Chargers are saying the right things. I think they're going to be very prepared. Obviously, we'll see about the offensive tackle situation. But this is a huge game for both sides, and for us as fans, as content creators, like we want obviously the Chargers to come out on the positive side.
Believe it or not.
Yes, believe it or not. Let's get to the injury report here. Some things have kind of changed from a Steelers perspective. Darnell Washington did not practice yesterday. He was a full participant today. So from a Chargers side of things, the positive news here is that Josh Harris and Dean Leonard are both tracking to make their regular season debuts this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Josh Harris and Dean Leonard both obviously injured during training camp, placed on the injury reserve right away. And Josh Harris, kind of talking about it, he's never really been through that experience. He's never really had a season-altering injury. So he's back. Dean Leonard is back. Very good news for the Chargers special teams. Curious to see, again, kind of roster management, what that means for Nico Reed. But for special teams, good news on the Chargers front there.
Yeah, thank goodness. We joke. I think you had made a joke about primetime Ficken again, but it's really weird. But this is the perfect time, and I don't know what it is. There's no way it's Josh Harris, right? That has been changing everything for the Chargers, because he's not even out there for he's not there on kick coverage, and yet.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's just something about having Josh Harris that has somehow worked. I don't know if it's just great juju or what, some positive vibes, you name it. But Fick, again, it's strange that they did jettison Jaw Taylor recently, specifically for special teams. But they have thrived with that combination of Dicker and Harris and Dean Leonard. It's not Nick Neiman anymore, but I would say Marlo Wax has kind of stepped into that role a little bit recently. So getting more of that core nucleus and the guys who just know it, been there, done that, and are a core part of your group. It just feels positive. I hope they move things in the right direction. TBD on the kickoff returns, the punt returns, but Dean Leonard is definitely a great gunner.
Yeah, absolutely. Very curious to see kind of what they do on the opposite side. Probably trending towards Keandre Lambert-Smith being active again. Naeem Hines obviously is not on the team. Jared Patterson doesn't really return kicks, stuff like that. So potentially another spot for Keandre Lambert-Smith. But it seems like Bobby Hart and Tariq still trending towards being out. Poor Bobby Hart is dealing with a knee/ankle and the groin injury also, which was mentioned after the game, but is not on the injury report. So he's definitely going through it. Tariq still, this would be his second missed game. And the initial reporting was that he would miss 2 to 4 weeks. So at this rate, we're probably turning towards him returning after the bye, just because he has not practiced yet, and so maybe next week he's kind of a limited participant, and then after the bye he's back. So another game for Nico Reed potentially, being in the slot, position here behind Derwin James. But obviously the Chargers are going to miss the target still for as long as he is out.
Yeah, which will be a bummer. It has not really hurt them recently. Their DB group has just gelled and been like pretty solid. But still, it would be nice to have him out there for a variety of reasons. What was Mekhi Becton's practice status last week? It was,
I want to say it was like DNPs.
I almost feel like he trended towards being limited and questionable for the game. Was he out? Was he declared out? I don't recall.
He was questionable. He was not declared out until the day before.
Yeah.
Or not the day before, the hour before.
Right. I was hoping and assuming that he would, like, the Titans game is a game you can hold Mekhi Becton out, and they scraped by it, but it was like they'll survive. I don't know. I was hoping to see more of a full participant from Mekhi Becton this week. I am getting nervous about this one, whether he plays and starts the game or whether he just even finishes this game.
So he was a DNP Wednesday last week, DNP Thursday, limited Friday, and then questionable.
Yeah.
So limited so far this week. We'll see. Maybe he's a full participant tomorrow. Obviously, that would be great. But the Chargers have some figuring out to do if they don't play. So this is definitely something that I think we can talk about at this time with kind of, the Trevor Penning acquisition. What's your preference? Greg Roman said today that's kind of essentially like an open competition this week, which is obviously not ideal, but this is where they're at. What's your preference of lineup with Mekhi Becton on the field and off the field?
Okay. There's too many hurt players for me to do this all. Okay. So Pipkins is playing. So Pipkins is your right tackle.
Yes.
So Becton. Well, preferred is maybe not Bradley Bozeman, but we got what we get. So Bradley Bozeman's going to play center, regardless of preference. Zion Johnson. I don't know.
It's so hard at left tackle. It's so hard.
What am I supposed to say to that one?
Yeah.
I think on the one hand, you hope Trevor Penning could be better, but he's not been good. It's not like they're trading for, whoa, here comes even a 96 pass blocking efficiency or 96.5. It's 95 on a new team. I think, don't even ask me with Becton out, by the way. I'm assuming that's just Foster Sarrell, but I don't know.
I wonder if there's been any pictures up.
Well, Penning said he worked both tackle spots, right?
Yeah.
With Becton out, or if he were not out or not playing.
So it sounds like the plan is for Penning to play tackle first, which I think is the right approach. I did not love his guard tape. There's, as a run blocker, it's about the same, but as a pass protector, I do think he is much more comfortable on the outside. So I think that's the right approach for Trevor Penning. Let's see kind of where we're at. I'm trying to scroll through some pictures to see if there's been any like Foster Sarrell or Jamari Sawyer at right guard pictures from practices. But the Chargers are a little sneaky with that. They don't like to put those online sometimes.
No.
So I'm on pick 64 of 104 already, and there's been no offensive line pictures at all.
I think my preference is probably Jamari for one more week, but I could be swayed very easily in the other direction.
Yeah, I'm pick 90. It looks like they did a lot of special teams work today in practice, for what it's worth.
Oh, good. That's good. I mean,
like the bulk of the pictures.
No
offensive line pictures at all on the Chargers website today, so that's fun.
Touche. Because after the Andre James like 2 photos that one time, I think they kind of realized let's not do that anymore.
Yeah, probably.
Kind of our fault, but yeah.
Kind of our fault, yeah. But we are the content creators. It is what it is. If Mekhi Becton does not play, my personal preference would be that Jamari Sawyer plays right guard, and then you figure out left tackle between Trevor Penning and Austin Deculus. I think if Becton does not play, the worst possible combination is Foster Sarrell back at right guard. Like the film is so bad from the last 2 weeks, and it's a lot easier to hide a tackle than it is to hide a guard. And so even if Jamari Salyer's not perfect at right guard, he is definitely better than Foster Sarell right now. I don't love his guard tape from earlier this season. I do think that Jamari is overall better at left tackle right now. So if Becton plays, then I think Jamari is your left tackle through the bye week. After the bye week, maybe you can make some changes, but this is not like Sean Payton's playbook, but it's a relatively complex playbook. And you're going from the Kellen Moore offense to this offense, which is not a huge transition. The Saints were running a good amount of gap and things like that. They do run a lot of counter and that kind of play style. So it's not like a huge change. This is not like going from like the Shanahan system to this system. But asking him to start a football game, 4 days after he gets to Los Angeles is kind of crazy. So if Mekhi Becton plays, I think Jamari should be your left tackle. If Becton does not play, I personally would put Salyer at right guard and then probably Deculus back out at left tackle. And maybe you do kind of like a rotation thing with him and Penning. I don't know. That's not a great situation. But like I said, you can hide the left tackle far easier than you can hide the right guard. So put Tucker Fisk right next to him the entire game, 6-man protections, all of that stuff, I think is probably your best case scenario.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Whether Becton's declared out or is hurt mid-game, I don't see Penning going like, hey, send Penning out there. Good luck. I think they will be Deculus.
Yeah. So I know that's not going to inspire a ton of confidence, but that's where we're at. All right, let's check in on the Pittsburgh Steelers. How's it going for the season? This picture is so funny to me. I never understand why Aaron Rodgers wears these massive ear pads like that, but it is what it is. The Steelers, I think, weirdly are getting almost exactly what they could have hoped for out of Aaron Rodgers and this offense. So they're 13th in EPA per play, 19th in success rate. The passing offense is 16th in EPA per play and 25th in success rate. It's a lot of checkdowns, which we can definitely talk about. Rushing offense with Arthur Smith, it's been steadily in the top 15 in both categories. I don't know how much like Steelers offense you've watched, but it's just a hilarious unit. They threw the football 7 times to Darnell Washington last week. But weirdly enough, it's been the defense that's kind of been letting the Steelers down this season.
Yeah, it's really strange. I haven't watched a ton of Steelers football unless they happen to be on or I have some sort of PrizePicks things going on watching that Vikings game. But all the content creators you follow, it's like, well, is Mike Tomlin ever going to adjust? Nope. There goes somebody open in the middle of the field again. There goes someone with a penalty again. The Chargers played the Steelers last year, and my mind is kind of stuck on that game in terms of generally the state of the Steelers, and then of course like the offense is Aaron Rodgers now. But so my brain always thinks of that group and the group that gave Chargers so much fits. I go, oh, gosh, here comes this overwhelming defense. And then I went, okay, here's the preview for the game this year. What's it going to look like? And the numbers are, they're not great. They are like bottom third as a defense, EPA, success rate, you name it. They're really just a group that lives off of takeaways and has generally been not that great. Now, they've changed some things this last game. We'll talk about that in a bit. I don't know how much of that is to stay or an outlier, but other than what seemed to be a pretty solid takeaway performance against the Colts, they've really just been a big letdown.
Yeah, they had 6 takeaways against the Colts, and the Colts still almost won the game. They had an onside kick at the end to potentially go and tie the game. So the Steelers defense, it's gotten a little old. Cam Hayward is still really good. TJ Watt still has his moments. Alex Highsmith has been a little up and down this season. He looked awesome this past week. Nick Herbig is probably their most efficient pass rusher, but they don't really play him a whole lot. There are definitely some ways that this Chargers offense can expose the Steelers defense. And I think on offense, it's going to be, when the Steelers are on offense for the Chargers defense, it's going to be a game where you got to buckle up your chin strap. You're going to have to tackle all day long. Like this is going to be a physical game in that regard. So it really is like who takes care of the football more and who gets sacked less, I think is a big deal this week. But I think that the Steelers just overall, if they win this game, they're probably going to cakewalk to the AFC North Division. But I have a tough time watching them and figuring out how good of a team they actually are.
Yeah, no, likewise, because there's enough talent. And there's plenty of names. Anyone in the chat could rattle off, 5 or 6 of the Steelers defenders' names. And you go, okay, that was wow, this player, that player, Watt and Hayward and all these guys. But then it's like, this is the production, this is the outcome of all of this. But as you pointed out, I think it's well said and correct. They're getting older, and even in their secondary, they're trying to make Jalen Ramsey work at safety. Darius Slay, as I think people have said, he's kind of like not been 100% or just very bad this year. So he hasn't been great. So they're trying to make some things work, but it's not been a great group.
Yeah, definitely not. All right, let's get to some notable team stats for the Steelers. The offensive line, hilarious picture here with Darnell Washington, who's bigger than their tackles, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Offensive line is in total fourth in pass blocking efficiency rating. A lot of that is driven by the interior players, which are all three very good. We'll see about Isaac Sayamalo, who is potentially not going to play this week. But overall, the offensive line has generally protected Aaron Rodgers quite well. The biggest difference with Aaron Rodgers and some of these other Steelers quarterbacks of the past, they are 7th in red zone touchdown percentage, which, as we have talked about, is not a strong suit for the Chargers. For the Steelers, they have done a really good job getting to the red zone and cashing out. And then, like I mentioned earlier, just a hilarious offense to watch. 50% of their plays on offense feature at least 2 tight ends. So they're running 2 tight end sets at the 7th highest rate in the NFL. They're running 3 tight end sets at the highest rate in the NFL. So you're going to see a lot of Darnell Washington on Sunday night. You're going to see a lot of Cam Hayward's little brother, Connor Hayward. That's his name. A lot of Pat Freiermuth. They love their tight ends, and they will play them a ton on offense.
Oh, yeah. It's the Arthur Smith special there. It really just feels like them. But Darnell Washington is hilarious. The vibe, everything. But he works exactly for what they want. So I don't blame them. This is a really tricky matchup for the Chargers. I would have not have thought that it is the offense and what they're good at that scares me a bit more than the defense. But, okay, so let's say they protect well. They might have an injury this week. So we'll see if Sayamalo, as you said. They're good in the red zone, and they love their tight ends. That's a really bad recipe for the Chargers defense right now. I think they are getting a bit better, but that's ugly. Thankfully, I think there's some other ways they can win, but that's rough. They can protect. They're good in the red zone, and they love using their tight ends. That's a recipe for disaster for the Chargers defense.
Yeah, part of this is that their 6th offensive lineman, Spencer Anderson, has logged, I think, the 6th most inline tight end snaps of any offensive lineman in the league. So they'll run the football with their 5 offensive linemen, Darnell Washington, and then Spencer Anderson. So essentially 7 offensive linemen is kind of how they want to get that going. And then they run outside zone. And it's been pretty successful. Again, not like this is the best rushing offense in the league. I have Jalen Warren in fantasy, and he's been like fine. It's not, if they had like Saquon Barkley or something like that, this rushing offense would be so sick. But for the Chargers, they want to live in their big nickel package, obviously with Derwin James in the slot. When they played the Colts, they had Derwin James as a traditional safety on 18 snaps, as opposed to about 4 to 6 in the other games. And the base defense of the Chargers did not do super well against the Indianapolis Colts rushing attack. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor, very different than Jalen Warren. But I am very curious about how Jesse Minter kind of approaches this particular game when the Steelers the Steelers want to get 1,000 pounds on inline tight end blockers out there and just pound the rock. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of change-ups Jesse Minter has this week.
Yes, absolutely.
Some defensive team stats. They are 24th in third down conversion percentage. Not particularly great there. 24th in opponent's yards per play. Second best takeaway. So like you said, very splash play dependent defense. They've made some trades. They added Kyle Duggar in free agency. They've moved Jalen Ramsey to free safety. They traded for Kyle Duggar, not free agency, but they've made some changes and maybe those stick, but this is a very un-Pittsburgh Steelers-like defense, despite looking like they were the best defense in the league this past week.
Yeah, no, I usually don't see this. It's always a classic thing for the Steelers and the AFC North and the Ravens and the Steelers. That's what they've always been, and then some gritty offense. That was my entire childhood, I feel like, and every decade before that. And then this is just so unlike them. Again, with even the names we can all rattle off, but again, bottom third and third down, bottom third in yards per play. It's just living off those turnovers. It feels very like early, I don't know if the numbers are exact, but it feels like the same vibe of the early Spags Chiefs defense. Didn't have the McDuffie, didn't have those players just yet, but they were going to just fucking throw everything at you and go get some turnovers and just give Mahomes 1 or 2 more possessions a game. And poof, that worked for them just fine. So yeah, it's not what I'm used to for the Steelers group.
Yeah, and they do blitz a ton as well. So that's not a horrible comparison.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we are going to take a quick break with our audio audience, as well as give a quick shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks. So we'll be right back after this. Okay, this episode of the Guilty as Charged podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season over on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks has a new feature where you can choose a stack for one particular player in up to 3 different statistical categories. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's or Justin Herbert's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best way to get in the action on football over more than 40 plus states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So on PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, where you can now get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, let's jump into some other top performers for the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Obviously, on offense, Aaron Rodgers, 17th in adjusted EPA per play. So, again, not amazing, but he's been kind of what they would have hoped for. Made a big trade in the offseason for DK Metcalf, who has 29 receptions, 467 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers has said recently that he feels like him and DK are finally getting on the same page, so we'll see what happens there. Mentioned Jaylen Warren, 99 rushing attempts for 404 yards and 2 touchdowns. Probably their best player on offense, unfortunately, might be Zach Frazier, a guy we all loved coming out of the draft. He has a 98.9 pass blocking efficiency, which trails only Creed Humphrey among starting qualified centers, and has allowed 0 sacks for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Cool. Thanks for adding that one in there, Steven. Much like everything else, the guys have been fine. They have gone as the group has gone. So there's not one particular player where it's like, the offense is but here's this 800-yard receiver. There's no JSN here by any means, at least in terms of production. Everyone's been fine. They have a generally good core. Rodgers protecting the football. He's been solid. He's been stabilizing. But they're fine. But their offensive line that's led by Frazier, who will be their center for another decade, which is sweet. Good for them. Happy for them. Oh, Bonex just threw an interception, loser. Anyway. Yes, I am keeping tabs on this game.
Same. I am also keeping tabs on the game. It is 7-7 for those who did not know.
Let's go. It's 7-7. Raiders. Anyway, their offense has been fine. On defense, Cam Hayward, I think there's a bit of a banged up issue there for him, but I think he'll play. But Herbig, Watt, Hayward, they've been fine. I don't think they've been great by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe there's been some efficiency there, but 28 pressures for Herbig, 28 for Watt, 23 for Hayward has not been as great of a group. We could have also added, of course, Derek Harmon on here. Keanu Benton just ran out of space. So they've got plenty of players. But those are kind of the notable interior defensive line names that we know. Peyton Wilson has been a bright spot for them, it seems. 49 tackles, 12 pressures, plenty of stops. And then Joey Porter Jr., okay, for all the bitching I heard from Steelers content creators about how bad he's been this season, I looked at the numbers and it's like, it's not that bad. It hasn't been really bad at all. A 27 forced incompletion rate is pretty good. He has 6 penalties. The way the Steelers fans covered him, he had 45. So only 6, I think, with a couple of declined is not bad.
Yeah,
but he's, I think, by far their best corner, only passer rating of like 59 allowed or something like that. So not bad. Chris Boswell has not been as perfect as Cameron Dicker, but he's one of the best kickers in the league easily.
Yeah, Boswell, unfortunately, I don't know if you saw this, but there was like that game where the Steelers field was just kind of a mess and he like tripped on the grass.
No.
Where he was that. So that his only miss from 50 came on that. So he's,
oh, wow.
He's awesome. Great kicking game if you're a special team sicko like Alex Katzen is. So he's going to be really happy watching this one. I think Peyton Wilson is probably the biggest story for them. You know, I think we liked him coming out of college, but it was just like a lot of the injuries. We had no idea what that was going to be. And he saved their game against the Minnesota Vikings where he, you know, chased down, I forget, it might have been Isaiah Rodgers, but he's been really, really good. The numbers are good for Peyton Wilson. You have the 12 pressures on here, so they blitz him a ton. I think they're using him perfectly. So he's quietly been one of their better players, at least from a numbers perspective, and you know, just vaguely watching some games. So I guess shout out to Peyton Wilson.
Yeah, there was never a question of the talent. It was the 3 separate from high school on season-ending injuries where you go, yeah, he's awesome. No thanks. And I'm glad the Steelers are getting the benefit of the risk on him, but that was never one that I was super interested in. Still much better than the way Colson has turned out. Of all things, of course, it has been Junior Colson, the one who has missed so much time.
Yeah. Peyton Wilson
he was not in their range.
He was gone, right?
Yeah, he was a second-round pick, I believe.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. Coaching storylines. I have the other linebacker, Patrick Queen, as kind of the big red dot player. So in the NFL, you try and find a red dot player who can, you know, be somebody that you want to isolate as much as possible. And this week for the Chargers, that is Patrick Queen. He's never really been a great coverage player, but the Ravens blitzed him so often that it didn't really matter there. The Steelers blitz him quite often as well, but he has the second worst coverage grade in the league, according to PFF right now, among starting qualified linebackers. And he's allowed over 400 yards receiving, which is not great. That is not a good number for a linebacker. So these other teams have really they've really tried to isolate him as much as they can against tight ends, running backs, etc. Last week, we saw the Chargers try and throw a Texas route to Kamani Vidal, and Justin Herbert did not have the time. There was a free rusher. It just was like a bad protection instance where the Chargers kept 5, Titans brought 6, and it just messed with the timing. But Kamani was open for a touchdown, man. I was so disappointed that happened. So this week against the Steelers, like if there is a way for you to create some real advantages for them, it's against Patrick Queen. And Peyton Wilson's like, his coverage grade is a lot better, but he's also allowing a lot of yards. So Oronde Gadsden, Kamani Vidal as receivers this week, I think could really be a possible advantage for them. And obviously Kamani, when he's in, he's pass protecting a ton, which makes a lot of sense given the Chargers offensive line issues. But that Texas route made me so excited. I hope they continue to go back to that because he ran it perfectly. It was wide open. This is a week where you want to isolate the Steelers linebackers as much as possible. Yeah, I think you could maybe argue that Darius Slay could be your red dot player as well. But when I was looking at these numbers, man, I was like, okay, you got to go after Patrick Queen, isolate him in zone coverage, man coverage as much as you can to try and get some advantages over the middle of the field.
It's kind of funny because the last time we talked about isolating linebackers in coverage and their struggles in coverage, it was another great defense that's playing right now, and that's the Broncos. The funny thing is, the game right before that, they played the Colts, if I'm not mistaken. So for whatever reason, we have perfect overlap there in this regard. And the last time that they did play the Broncos, pass protection wasn't great, but they did go after the linebackers. They went after Singleton. So I trust that Greg Roman can see this and go after this. 400 yards allowed is a lot. It's November, so I don't know what that's not good. I don't know what the record is, but I'm going to go on a limb and say, you know, Vidal or Gadsden, whoever it is. Wow, I did 400 yards is not great. Wilson, as you said, 16th in yards allowed. So that is very much a circle that, go after that kind of thing. I'm sort of tying into that is mine. I was actually going to go with the red zone offense and bring up that Vidal play, as you said, because they've slowly, like I should give Roman a bit more credit than I have. They are slowly building on top of them and executing at minimum in the red zone. So this game would be great for that. But I went with, you know, can the Chargers just make it ugly? 12 personnel, 22 personnel, add a 6 offensive lineman. Is it Penning? I don't know. Just go with the classic ugly Harbaugh slugfest. And I say it all the time, you know, Rivers 2013 against the Eagles. He's like, yeah, we out no huddled the no huddlers in that, you know, game against the Eagles. And they just kind of beat them at the own game that they played. Can the Chargers kind of do the same thing? Hey, you've got Washington and these tight ends and whatnot. Well, hey, we've got a Tucker Fisk, baby. And he's not as tall as your guy, but he's pretty darn big. So can we go after it like that? And then can they get explosive plays out of that? I really think early in the year, it's not going to happen with Conklin at this point. It's clearly Gadsden, but they tried to sneak a couple things with Conklin. I saw against the Broncos, and I think even against the Giants early on in that game, they were trying to do stuff close to the line of scrimmage or through the line of scrimmage with the tight ends. Unfortunately, just the defensive line killed Justin Herbert. Nothing could happen, but they were trying to work that. So can you go through these tight end looks and get explosive? So is that an Aronde Gadsden versus a Patrick Queen or whatever it ends up being? I'll sign up for more Matlock touchdowns. I don't care what it looks like.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. One, it's great for our social media content. Thank you for all the views from that one for no reason. But if it helps them, go for it. So whatever it ends up being, leak, delay, I don't care. Whatever it ends up being from there, can you go with those looks? Can you make it ugly? And then just a couple of plays to get you a field goal, for Christ's sake. Can you do that in these games to get you enough points?
Yeah, even in week one, like the coolest play that the Chargers ran, they actually had Tyler Conklin in the lineup as fullback and then leaked him through the C gap and ran a corner route. And it was sick. I don't think they've I think they have had Gadsden line up in the backfield a couple of times, but they've never like deliberately thrown him the football. But that's a great way to mess with the linebackers. Last week, when they had the goal line touchdown, I loved the play where they got into the, two tight ends, or there was Tucker Fisk, Aronde, and Scott Matlock were all on the field. And they, they're showing a very run heavy formation. And then Gadsden runs a corner out wide open, 15-yard gain right off the 1 yard line. That's great. That's a great way to manipulate linebackers. So I think we're on the same page, just kind of going forward. Like when the game script is really positive, you got to have big bodies out on the field for the Chargers. The Steelers like to do it because it's their identity, right? The Chargers need to do it because it's necessity. They need to create, some easier opportunities for the offensive line and just protect them that way. So I think those are all great ways to isolate the linebackers. Kind of wrapping up the statistical conversation for Patrick Queen. Last year, the league leader in linebackers allowed was 739 yards. This year, Patrick Queen is on pace to allow 949 yards, almost 200 more than last year's highest. Servassier Dennis, by the way, for the Buccaneers, on pace to allow over 1,000 himself. So it's not the worst in the league, but it's pretty close for Patrick Queen right now.
It's funny. We were kind of doing the same thing, looking for some sort of reference. I was trying to look at Kenneth Murray's just to give everybody some sort of reference. Okay, so Kenneth Murray's worst season was 660 receiving yards. So picture that and worse.
Yeah.
Go after that one.
And Queen is essentially like the best possible version of Kenneth Murray. Like he's a great blitzer and all that stuff, but cover stuff is nasty. So I think if there's a pass for the Chargers this week, they have some other advantages from receivers and stuff like that. But if they are constantly working the middle of the field, like I think they will, then I think they can have a path towards, the necessary point total this week.
Do we imagine that Will Dissly is actually involved and active this week? This feels like the week to do it.
Yeah. The tough thing there is like who plays special teams, because Tyler Conklin's been doing that, and he is a much better athlete, but it's not been going well. So is Will Dissly going to play special teams, and is that going to help your kickoff return units? I don't know, man. Like that's tough. But theoretically, this should be a heavy Dissly, Fisk, and Scott Matlock game. So to me, that makes sense. But special teams is not playing Super Bowl right now, anyways.
I don't know. Tyler Conklin got Keandre Lambert-Smith to do a midair cartwheel. So I think that I'll take Will Dissly even just kind of being around.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question, though. All right, Tyler, what are you most excited to watch this week?
Why did I pick this one here? I have no idea. Yours is very fun. Mine's just like, look, I like my week-to-week storyline. So I thought the linebackers, Henley, Perryman, Molden, Mickens occasionally played better in the middle of the field. I thought it was a better performance overall. And I thought it was generally the last couple of weeks the best versions of the defense we've seen. Can they continue to do that? I don't expect Rodgers to turn the ball over or really give them anything. He got zero turnover where he plays, I believe, in the middle of the field or anything short. half his completions are right in the middle from 0 to 10 yards. Actually, I lied. From behind the line of scrimmage to 10 yards. It's about the same for Justin Herbert, so it's not like it's some crazy outlier. Same thing for Herbert. Just Herbert's more successful, I believe, down the field. I would imagine so. So they continue to work with that. You know, DK Metcalf, only 29 catches on the year. I don't anticipate this being a sudden, you know, crazy sideline DK Metcalf game for them. The Chargers corners have been pretty good in that regard. So can they continue to protect the middle, can they continue to develop and protect that middle of the field? They've been better the last couple of weeks. Not perfect, but I think things have improved. So Henley, Perryman, whatever combination it is, can they keep doing that?
Yeah, like you, I feel like Elijah Molden is kind of settling back into his previous self from before the injury. I think obviously, you know, coming back from the knee and the broken leg and stuff like that, like it was a lot for him to deal with. So he's starting to look like himself. I think it's great timing. I think RJ Mickens has been a little up and down, but you know, Tony Jefferson is potentially back this week, which I think would be very helpful. So the Chargers DBs are going to have to tackle this game. Like it is going to be up to them to really make their mark in that regard. So it's really unfortunate that Tariq Still is not going to play this week, but Dante Jackson and Cam Hart are very capable tacklers. Nico Reed is a capable tackler. So this is a situation where the Chargers DBs are going to, I think, rise up to the occasion in that regard. The Steelers it's funny. Their offense is very much the opposite of their defense in terms of they don't really hunt for big plays. Like they want to march you down. They want the 15 play drives. They want to, you know, check down Charlie this thing. And so far it's been pretty successful for them. So the Chargers DBs, like it's a very, you know, styles make fights kind of game, because the Chargers, like what they want to do on defense is make you make a mistake just from the sheer amount of like, we're not going to mess up. But the Steelers, like they're going to take the 5-yard checkdowns all day long. So again, just stylistically for Jesse mentioned this game, I'm so curious where he decides to change things up and what kind of differences he makes, because if he lets the Steelers, they will gladly take the 15 play drive and march it down the field all game long.
Yeah, I forget what the number was. Him and Rodgers are 6 months apart in terms of age. Rodgers. So, you know, but he said, I've been coordinating for X amount of time. How many coordinators has Rodgers seen? How many different defenses he's seen over the years? So is this the most senior? No, yeah, it has to be the most senior quarterback that Minter has faced this year in terms of players, right?
This year, yes. I think last year, the only one that would be close is Kirk.
Did they play Kirk last year?
When Kirk threw 5 interceptions.
Oh, the Falcons. Excuse me. Wow, I'm in the wrong year.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Just get 500 interceptions. Perfect.
A little bit of a different situation, different quarterback there.
Oh man.
But yeah, just stylistic, man. I'm so curious to see how this one goes. We mentioned Josh Harris. I'm super excited that Josh Harris is back. You know, a lot of people have been joking this week that we've never really appreciated long snappers, but man, do they miss the best one. I'm not going to lie. Like earlier this week, I was feeling a little pessimistic about just in general the Chargers situation. I probably should not have told fans to fuck off on Tuesday night, and that's my bad. And I'd hold myself to a little bit of a higher standard than that. But can you blame me? Like, I think this is not a great situation without Joe Alt. But the thing that brought me back and potentially is bringing me back is Keenan Allen potentially setting the Chargers record in a game where I will be in attendance. And I've attended some great games at SoFi Stadium. You attend every game or most every game at SoFi Stadium. You know, I attended the Browns shootout. I attended the Lions shootout. Obviously, the Chargers lost. It was still a ton of fun. I attended the Browns shootout. So I've attended some great games. But to see Keenan Allen back with the Chargers in general has been great. To see him exceed expectations has been even better. I think heading into the season, I was probably a little bit more pessimistic just about Greg Roman aspect of this all. And Keenan's been, I think, the third most efficient third down receiver in the league. And every single time it happens, he's just like incredible on third down. They're running him on deep overs now on third down, like they did last week. They're running him on choice routes. It just looks great. I think they're going to have this wrapped up pretty quickly. He only needs 2 to break the record. And not that I was like expecting, I was not just like wrapping up the Chargers win last week, but I kind of knew that they didn't really need Keenan to beat the Tennessee Titans last week. So the fact that this is going to happen at home, he is going to have his moment at home. I know it's going to be like best case scenario, like 50-50 Chargers fans at this game. But Keenan is one of the main reasons why I am a Chargers fan. He is one of the main reasons I stayed a Chargers fan with all of the stuff, from moving to San Diego to LA. And to have this moment happen, I think is going to be great. Like, there's no guarantee 6 months ago that this moment is happening. If Mike Williams does not decide to retire, we might never get this moment with Keenan. So I think if you're looking for some kind of optimism, if you're struggling like I was earlier in the week, let Keenan and his record be the player to bring you back in full swing and bolt the F up, as they say.
Yeah, it's Steven's optimism is back because of the return of a long snapper and 3 catches from Keenan Allen. He's back, baby. That's all we needed. I didn't realize it was that simple. Listen, Keenan Allen has been...
I'm a simple man.
Clearly. A long snapper, hell yeah. Listen, Keenan Allen has been a part of some great Steelers-Chargers games.
Yeah.
It was the 2018 comeback win where he caught the tip ball touchdown on the road in Pittsburgh. Great game. He was a huge part of that Herbert, like, just monster game, again, on primetime against the Steelers, where I think he had like 12 catches or something and a ton of yards. Herbert ran for 80-something or 90-something in that game. It's just in moments like these, and in moments like it would have been nice to have had him last year against the Steelers.
Yeah,
this is the Keenan Allen moment. I wonder how much of an overlap there is between Herbert, good performances on primetime, and Keenan Allen just being right there, understanding, third down, whatever it needs to be, choice routes, over routes, as you said, so close to a great catch on the sideline this past week too.
Yeah.
So it's when in doubt in games like this, and almost even over Lad McConkey at this point, in third down, you got to have it. It has been Keenan Allen. So I hope that continues this week. I hope he gets more than the 3 catches, but I would be surprised if you didn't see that record broken this week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like throw him a screen route and throw him a slant like early, get this record break out the way.
Yeah.
Which still, like, I think it's going to be, his moment. You mentioning the primetime games, like, obviously there were some big Mike Williams games.
Sure.
Last year he was not on the team, but like the Dolphins game after, we've talked about that game previously where they were starting like Braden Fehoko and, oh gosh, what was his name? The short Idaho nose tackle.
I know Gaziano, but it wasn't him.
No, Gaziano played a lot in that game too, but I forget his name now. He was like a training camp fan favorite that year. I forget what his name is right now. Anyways, Keenan Allen on against the Dolphins game, the big, obviously the point game. So there's so many big Keenan Allen moments, back in the day in San Diego, the Steelers game, I think of a lot of like the Antonio Brown, Jason Verrett battle, but on offense, Keenan Allen was a huge factor that day as well. So I think that's a good shot by you.
I gotta figure out who the defensive tackle. I don't know who. Someone knows in the chat. I can't think.
Merrill.
Oh my, Forrest Merrill.
Forrest Merrill played in that game. Yeah.
Did he really?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. It was like Fehoko, Morgan Fox, Joe Gaziano, and Forrest Merrill. That was it.
It wasn't the usual group. That's for sure. That's so funny. Blast from the past. This is 2022, right?
Might have been 2021. No, it was 2022. Yeah, 2022.
Why can't I find it? I don't know. Somebody let me know. I got it. Hold on. This is important. Okay, who's playing defense line here? Total snaps. Okay, blast from the past. Let me go down. Zont, Tranquil, Gilman, Adderley, Davis, Kenneth Murray, Van Noy, Taylor Mack, Fox, Fehoko, Rumpf, Gaziano, Hinton, and Tyler Davison.
Okay, I thought Merrill played, but Tyler Davison, that would never would have guessed that one.
Was not Morgan Freeman, I can tell you that. But that night, Morgan Freeman could have played and they would have won.
Yeah, true. That was not a good 2-up performance. All right, what's keeping us up at night? I think we don't have to spend a ton of time on this. The Steelers' interior defensive line, like the fact that we're choosing the interior defensive line instead of the edge rushers, I think says a lot. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, those guys, Derek Harmon, I think which I still can't believe they got Derek Harmon. It's freaking crazy. Those guys are still playing at a really high level, and the edge rushers, I think they will chip and have things ready for them. But we've seen Cam Hayward take a game over before against the Chargers, and they have a very deep group behind him. So I'm very anxious about this, especially if Mekhi Becton cannot play.
Oh God, yeah. Listen, I thought Simmons would have killed the Chargers last week, and we all would have expected that. He's a great player, and the Chargers interior guys are not. I didn't expect Sebastian Joseph Day to have an absolute revolutionary performance like he was with the Rams again back in the 2019 season or 2020 season. Holy cow. That was rough. Now, it does help if it's not Foster Sarell. It might be, and it might be halfway through the game, but Mekhi Becton would help there. But yeah, this interior, it's so relentless in the number of bodies they can throw at you. It's not fair that they have that much talent in the rotation. The Chargers have a very solid interior, but no offense, it's not that same kind of investment with this group. This group has a good veteran, a good rookie, a good second-year, third-year player. I mean, they can throw anything at them. They cut DeMarvin Leal, by the way. I didn't realize they had cut him, but could have contributed. I guess not. But yeah,
Benson was a second-round pick, I believe, and then Harmon was a first-round pick. So they're getting ready for post Cam Hayward, but they've invested a lot in general in the defensive line, but especially behind Cam Hayward.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, really, what's keeping me up at night is any of the offensive line against any of this defensive line. The interior defensive line scares me more. I feel like Herbert has generally been able to mitigate some of the issues on the tackles with their blocking, but that interior stuff has killed more plays than it has helped.
Yeah, it is a very scary matchup for me. We'll see what happens. Hopefully this is a good Zion Johnson game. Hopefully this is a better Bradley Bozeman game. And again, hopefully Mekhi Becton can play overall. So fan takeover situation, hopefully not as bad, but
it'll be terrible.
Yeah, probably.
It's going to be terrible. It's going to be rough. It's going to be worse than the Raiders takeover. Granted, they haven't really been good. The worst thing that could have happened is the Steelers won against the Colts, because
now they're all
excited. Yeah, now you're excited. Anybody who wasn't sure before is booking that ticket now. Joe Alt is out. I mean, if I were a Steelers fan, I'd be buying seats for this. Why not? Yeah. So yeah, the fan turnout's not going to be great. So it's a great defensive line. Chargers are trying to call things, change things, and it's a hostile crowd. It's going to be a hostile crowd. You'll be fine in your seats, but most of it's going to be a bit rough.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are so popular in LA still that this isn't even a ton of like traveling fans. Like, this is just kind of the situation. So if you're on the fence about going to this game, please go, because that would be great. And I have been told to request that if you have a powder blue towel, bring a powder blue towel, I guess, to kind of I
don't know about that's just going to look like more towels. It's just going to look like more terrible towels to me. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Asked to make the request, but
no, it's fine. I'm not saying it wasn't your idea, but I think it's just going to look like more towels.
Fair. That's fair. Tyler, who is your X Factor of the week?
I don't really know much about this. I think I want to explore more of this, but the guys that have covered the Steelers and what they've done, covered and watched this past week, have been pleasantly surprised with the way the defense looked with Jalen Ramsey playing more free safety snaps. I believe in one season of his career, Ramsey's highest number of free safety snaps is like 70. And then he played 55 against Indy. So is that even here to stay, or is that an outlier? Did that work for them? Do they want to rock with that? And the Steelers guys seem to think it's going to stay. But that's a new wrinkle right before this Chargers game that Ramsey has never really done. So it's an interesting X factor. I don't know how they will continue with that. Will they exploit that? So they move Brandon Eccles into the slot. So it's Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay, Eccles in the slot. Ramsey's now playing more free safety. That's an X factor. I would love to sit and watch some film before Sunday to get a better feel for this, but it's a new wrinkle that I was not aware of.
Yeah, I think I saw a quote from Tomlin that's probably going to stay the case until they can get Duggar up to speed, until they can get Jabril Peppers has not played. Oh, wow. They played Duggar 51 snaps last week, or over 51 snaps. Wow. He played 77 snaps. He was a full-time player for them last week. Okay. I did not realize that. So yeah, I think until Jabril Peppers comes back, I think it's going to be Jalen Ramsey back there. So Eccles is not exactly going to like terrify me. So again, we could have done this game about like the excited to watch as Keenan versus Eccles specifically, or Ladd versus Eccles specifically. But Ramsey has been a little underwhelming at corner, so maybe him being back at safety can kind of rejuvenate his career. I hope not on Sunday night though.
Yeah, we'll wait another week, please.
Is there a Broncos Raiders update?
The Raiders, Geno Smith overthrew another person. It's still 7-7. Everyone's saying it's ugly football. So
it's Thursday night. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not every game can be the Chargers primetime Thursday games.
Yes. My X factor of the week is the edge rushers versus Broderick Jones. I think, again, the Steelers' offensive line has performed very well. The weak point is Broderick Jones. He's allowed 18 pressures on the season, which it is not a lot in terms of like total numbers because the Steelers do not pass the football a whole lot. But his 95.5 pass blocking efficiency rating is quite low. It is one of the lower marks in the league. I forgot to look where exactly it is, but it is around Austin Deculus territory. So it's not like he's been very good. He also has given up quite a lot of penalties. The Steelers do, again, they protect their offensive line so much. They keep Darnell Washington in. They'll keep Spencer Anderson in, etc. But again, if this is a player that you can isolate, this is him. So Odafe Owe rushes a lot from that side. Khalil Mack rushes a lot from that side. This is potentially a big game for one of those two. And Odafe always had a couple of big games, and Khalil had a good moment, good game against the Vikings. The way that you're going to beat Aaron Rodgers is to heat him up. He has the 8th highest pressure to sack percentage in the league. He is not the same athlete, obviously coming off of the Achilles and his age and stuff like that. He does not turn the ball over a whole lot. Turnover-worthy plays in general for him, it's never been a thing. But he will absolutely take a sack or two each week. And, I think the high of the season is 4, so it's not been a ton. But he, when pressured, is very gettable in the sack department. So if this is a positive thing, then this is Broderick Jones. If Isaac Seumalo does not play, then look for the left side in general to be heated up by Jesse Minter and company. So this is definitely a positive matchup for the Chargers.
Yeah, and I was just looking at it. Owe's last 2 games against the Steelers, 10 pressures and 3 sacks. So that was last year, and so
pretty good.
Sounds nice to me.
That's pretty good. Pretty good football player, Mr. Odafe Owe.
Yes, despite what the Ravens will tell you. The
Yes,
Ravens
despite what we said. All right, here we go. We have to make a decision, Tyler.
Yeah.
I'll start, I guess. I think I've come back. Maybe the Keenan Allen thing is influencing me here. I think I'm going to predict a Chargers win in a very close contested game between these two teams. I don't think either offense is really going to I don't think this is going to be that shootout game against Ben Roethlisberger where the Chargers roared out to like the 38-20 lead and then the Steelers came back and then the Chargers kind of won at the end. I don't think it's going to be that kind of game. I'm picturing kind of like a 24-20 game, 24-21, 23-20 situation. But I just think with Keenan playing at the level he has been with Aronde, I think Justin Herbert has enough weaponry to kind of overcome some of the pressure. And so we've seen primetime Herbert as well be very much a big, player this season. He has always been that guy. So I think I'm going to go with the Chargers win, despite telling fans to fuck off on Tuesday. I think the Chargers win. I'm going to say officially 23-21.
I can't believe we're both doing this. I haven't been 20. I thought Steve and I do not talk about our game predictions for this ahead of time. All I knew is heading into this that we weren't sure what it was going to be. But if you had asked me after the Titans game and after the Steelers beat the Colts, I would have told you, well, the Chargers are going to lose this game. But going through, and it's kind of like why we do this, some of the numbers for the Steelers, granted, that's season long versus maybe right now. Maybe they could be getting hot after the Colts win, but
sure.
I don't know. There's just something about a bit of a letdown for them. They beat the great team. Now they have to go the other side of the country. We've seen it, play opposite for the Chargers.
Yeah.
Going to play the other side is tough for them. It's primed. And that kind of is a weird thing that makes me like the fact that it is prime time Herbert.
No,
Will
I think
do
it
something
definitely is
special.
influencing because Herbert is always so good on prime time. It
like
definitely is influencing.
Herbert's running
Yeah.
for 75 yards. He's going to do some stupid thing that's going to be incredible. If he throws a pick six on the first 2 plays, good, I guess. Apparently, that's what we should be rooting for in these
Get it
games.
out the way early.
Just get it out of the way. You know, Keenan this, and there's something just energizing about the primetime stuff. The hostile home takeover is going to suck, but I do think the Chargers, as you said, they have enough answers to make this work. The Colts, if you watch the opening of that game, they're beating up the Steelers. Like, not it wasn't a blowout or anything, but they were very much so controlling that game. I think they had 3 fourth down conversions in a row in that game to open things
Looked
up.
like the Colts to start for sure.
Yeah, and then they just like the stupid interceptions and all the things that were happening that kind of unraveled their game. But as you said, the Colts almost won. So the Chargers are not the Colts. They do not have Joe Alt. They don't have that same offensive line that the Colts have, which is a top 3-ish unit. But I think they can get it done. I think the Steelers are weaker on defense than I thought they would be, because sometimes we just get reputations stuck with them, or maybe just the names, because we're not fans of these teams. We don't follow them closely. But looking through it all, it just feels like the Chargers, especially because we've seen them do it against the Broncos, they can make this work. So I'm going to go 24-20. I think the special teams is going to do something fun for whatever reason. Couldn't tell you why, but special teams will do something good. We'll all be back on the Ficken train. Herbert's going to ascend and continue his MVP play. I do not think this will be a blowout. I do not think they win by more than a touchdown. It's probably ugly for most of the game. But I think that at minute 55, 56 of the game, Herbert does the thing, and the Chargers win this one.
Herbert does the thing. I think that's, I think the goal for the Chargers this week is to just keep this as close as possible, heading into the final couple of possessions, just ugly this game up, and let Herbert go do Herbert things. I think that's exactly well said.
Look at us.
We're back.
So back. Rough couple of days.
Yeah.
We're back.
Yes, we're back. All right. Any final thoughts before we get to our super chats for tonight?
Let's jump to the super chats.
All right, Mr. Dark Chow Chow. Appreciate him for always kicking us off. I think it literally is every single week that this happens. He says Chiefs may miss the playoffs. Bradley, step down, please.
Bradley Bozeman?
That's probably it. I don't know if you're still in the chat here, Mr. Dark Chow Chow, but
that's not a Chiefs player.
No.
I don't know. Unless I don't know. Do we need Gus Bradley? But otherwise, Chiefs miss the playoffs. I don't think the Chiefs miss the playoffs. I think they're an extremely dangerous wild card team. I don't know. Their schedule is not super difficult, is it? I mean, I know it's a first place schedule, but they play the Broncos.
They're on a bye week this week. They're at Denver next week, home against the Colts, and then it's Cowboys, Texans, Chargers at home, at Titans, Broncos, at Raiders.
Jeez, you get to host 2 of your 3 last games are Titans and Raiders. All right.
Yeah, that's extremely favorable for them.
Yeah, it is. And then hosting the Broncos, who are still tied against the.
Yeah, I think the Broncos can beat them at home. So I think they'll probably split against the Broncos. I think the Colts can definitely beat them. They're going to crush the Cowboys. They're horrible. Is that the Thanksgiving game? That's a Thanksgiving game. Oh yeah, they're going to crush the Cowboys.
Keenan Allen for a week.
Yeah. They can definitely beat the Texans.
Yeah.
They're one of the few teams from an offensive line standpoint that can handle that.
Mm-hmm.
So I see 3 more losses, maybe 4 if the Chargers can beat them at Arrowhead, but that's obviously a very tough game for the Chargers. But
yeah,
so they're 5-4 right now. So I think they can easily get to 10 wins and make the playoffs as, potentially an 11-win team, be the 5 seed.
Yeah.
And then go play at Pittsburgh.
And then go
at Baltimore. Game. Yeah.
At Baltimore. Jeez. At Cincinnati if they pull it off. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I just, if you're going to pick a different team to make the playoffs, like, are you going to bet on the Houston Texans? Like, there's no CJ Stroud this week for them.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's out with a concussion. So are you going to bet on Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars? Like, I don't know, man. I kind of think the Chiefs will eventually get there and figure it out. The good news is for that particular thing is that the Jags beat them head to head. So if they're tied, then the Jags will get in. But I don't trust the Jags right now at all.
No, unfortunately, if the Chiefs are on a bye, but then the following week, if the Chargers beat the Jaguars, that helps out the Chiefs. So
yes,
unfortunately, that helps the Chiefs get in.
But if the Chargers beat the Steelers and the Jaguars, their playoff chances are like 85-90%, which is great. So
oh yeah, no, that'd be awesome. I would love. It's unlikely, but I'd love for them to have a week wrapped up by week 18 instead of having to not wrapped up, but like stuck where you are in week 18 instead of having to play in Denver in a physical defense for a whole game.
Yeah. A Thier in here says, bold prediction, primetime Herbo. I'm going 227 passing yards, 88 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Bolts get monster win, 31-23. Steelers pass tease trash stats prove it.
I mean, I buy some of that. The idea of, well, I don't know about 395 or 85, whatever it is, yards, but 65 yards. Got it.
Nice.
Thank you. Biology, not math.
Broncos just missed a field goal.
Okay, that doesn't help my prize picks, but God, the fucking Broncos. They're still going to win somehow. I don't know why or how. It's going to be something really stupid. They are the Chiefs this year, but worse. But a 31-23 win, I don't see the Chargers putting up 31. But the idea they could win by 8, I don't think it's so unheard of. The Steelers putting up 23, I could see. And I don't think their pass defense is great. It's just the whole blocking part for the Chargers. And they're kind of bad 4.5 of the 5.
Yeah, I think the boldest part of this is the rushing yards. 88. Has Herbert gotten 88? Has he gotten that many so far this season? Obviously, he leads all quarterbacks in rushing yards. We saw,
which is crazy. Which I guess Lamar not playing probably helps that a little bit. But
yes,
I'm trying to look at the game he had against the Steelers because I believe that is his career high. By the way, he will obviously break his rushing totals.
Yes, that'll happen this week probably.
Okay, this is taking me infinitely longer than it needs to figure out. Rushing. I think after a while you'd figure out how to do this, Tyler. 2023, Pittsburgh. Nope, that's the wrong season. Great fucking job. Okay, here we go.
So Herbert's season high is 62 against the Vikings. So he had 60 against 60 against the Commanders, 57 this past week, and then 62 against the Vikings.
When did if he had 90 the last time he played, 90 in the primetime game against the Steelers.
Okay. All right.
And
some good juju potentially there.
0 last year against the Steelers, but he was dealing with everything.
Yeah, he could barely move. Yeah. Very different last year, obviously, for Herbert. Side Gata says Disley is one of our best blockers. Why not active?
Steven's right from the special teams perspective, but I still don't think that's an excuse for him to not be active. Now, initially, I think things weren't perfectly healthy for him coming off of that injury. I think he came back a little early, but now it feels like if he's not on the injury report, let's go. Let's get this guy out there.
Yeah, I think Oronde Gadsden gives you enough as a pass catcher where you don't really need Tyler Conklin. And hey, man, even Tucker Fisk had a really nice reception last week.
It was great.
Will Disley had the really bad drop, but I mean, he had almost 500 yards receiving last year. So I think they'll be okay. And not that I'm going to advocate for Gadsden to play a ton on special teams, but you don't really need Tyler Conklin out there. And, you know, he's doing some good things in the community and stuff like that. He's posting on Instagram, I saw, but there's really no point. Like, you're not targeting him. You're not using him as the pass catcher. I don't think you need him as a special teams player. You can figure that out some other way. But I think Disley needs to be out there, especially this week. So Disley, Fisk, Matlock, I think all of them should be on the field. Like, one of those 3 should be on the field on every snap, in my opinion.
Oh, easily. Yeah, this has to be the Disley game. If this is not a Disley game, I don't know what we're doing with Will Disley. I don't know what we're really doing with Conklin either.
Yeah.
But if Disley can't play special teams or isn't out there at all on offense in this game, what are we doing?
Right. Exactly right. Athir says the Broncos better win. Casey is not losing in 2 weeks.
Because they play the
The game is in Denver. For what it's worth, the Broncos, unlike the Chargers and the Raiders, have actually been able to win regular season games against Patrick Mahomes. So I think the Broncos can split against the Chiefs, and if they're gonna win a game, it's probably the one in Denver.
Yeah, I think so too. Of course.
The Raiders just do something stupid.
Yeah, Genty tipped a pass up, I guess, for a Broncos pick after the missed field goal. So no one's going to score tonight, apparently. Yeah, my poor father's probably just blowing a gasket somewhere.
Yeah. Our last one for tonight, Michael Flores says, I would like to see some big boy football Sunday night. Give me 31 personnel with Fisk and Matlock lined up at fullback and run it with Kamani to Disley's side, hoping Disley is active. Lots of love for Will Disley tonight from the chat.
Yeah, listen, I don't think anyone's asking for him to get a target. The screen will probably work.
Yeah.
Once it'll work and they'll do it and it'll be awesome, but just get him out there. I'm a little shocked at how little of 42 and oh God, what's his number? He changed it, didn't he?
81. Is he back to 81 or is he back to 89?
I think it's 89 now.
Yeah, it's 89. He was 81 last year, and then he gave 81 to Mike Williams. He's 89 again, I think.
Oh, that's funny.
That's sad.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It is sad, or whatever it is. I don't know. Yes, I want to see more of 42 and whatever number Fisk or Disley is out there.
Yes, I agree. But yeah, I think this is the path to success for the Chargers this week and probably going forward, honestly. But
yep.
All righty, you guys. That is going to do it for us tonight. Like I mentioned previously, we will be at this game. Brooke and I are going to be doing a Disneyland weekend as well. So we're going to go down to Disneyland on Saturday and Monday. So we will not have a live post game together. So we'll have our usual Tuesday show later on, but you might not see us for a few more days. So appreciate you for tuning in tonight. Make sure to leave a like, a rating, a review, comment. All that stuff does genuinely continue to help grow our show. And we appreciate the heck out of you guys for jumping in tonight. So we'll see you then. As always, bolt up.